Welcome to another Emii Creations vlog. This time we're going to Fanime 2023, which happened from May 26th to May 28th at the San Jose McEnery Convention Center. Hello, we are packing for Fanime today, and luckily the booth size and setup is very similar to SakuraCon, which is the last show I was at. So most of my stuff is already packed. I just had a small restock and I just need to fill everything in, and then I'll give you the suitcase tour right after. I am done packing for Fanime, so you know what that means. It's suitcase tour time. And I'm bringing 3 suitcases, so I'm paying for this one. And then this is my carry-on. The first suitcase, you got the t-shirt line. I am bringing some new displays that I'll show you guys once it's all set up. And this is the sign holders for my price tags. And then under there, that's my toiletry bag. And under there is my eco bag. These two are the banners in the front that show off the stickers and the keychains, and then some pretty looking drapes. And this is the socks. They're all bundled up in here. And I believe this is like tools. And then in my hard suitcase, per usual, I actually have some tier displays, the wooden ones that you always see me use, all the way under there, wrapped up in my tablecloth. And then on top of it is those QB grid thingies that I build out for my front banners. This big bag, all wrapped up, is my plush keychains. These are samples, so sample socks, sample t-shirts, sample stickers, and this is some new clips that I'm bringing to clip up those banner thingies, so we'll see how that works. And that's my pillow I always bring. And in the smallest suitcase, I actually bring a lot of the heavier items. So this is all my greeting cards, sticker sheets. This is, I think, the scanner and the square reader. So that's actually pretty heavy. And then the lanyards. Per usual, I always bring a surge protector, and then I have my table banner right there, and then my price tags, and then some commission stuff. And under there are my stickers. So those are the string stickers organizers that you'll see. And then the last bag is my golf bag. These are actually just my daily clothes. I kind of distribute the weight, so they ended up in here. And then down here is all the photo stand displays that my all like the hanging stuff hang on. So you'll see them all up when we get set up, and I'll show you how that looks. So I just need to pack my backpack. I'm using this one this time, and then get everything put back and weighed, and then we're good to go. Just got picked up by Ollie. Hi. And then we're heading to Fanime to set up. Look at both our stuff. And although there's another car. There's another car up there. That actually has our stuff too. Yay! One thing about Fanime is that they do require you to use their freight if, and I quote, the exhibitor cannot carry the full contents of his or her booth materials in one trip by one person without the use of a hand truck, dolly, or wheels. I'm pretty sure suitcases don't count as wheels. Multiple trips are not permitted. I did notice there are some people that did not adhere to this rule this year. Maybe they just weren't caught, not sure. But regardless, we personally did use the freight for our loading, and I will let you know that it costs $425 at a minimum, and it goes up almost $1,000 if you go over the 600, 700 pound threshold. So be sure to check your poundage when you're using freight. Next year, they have told us already the rates will go up. And it took an overall 2 hours to get in on the loading day, so it definitely takes a little bit of time. I have heard day one, if you set up Friday morning, there's not as many people, but take that with a grain of salt. It is ideal that you estimate the poundage and pay for the freight in advance, just so you don't get caught up in all the chaos there, just to make your life a little easier. Other than that, check-in was pretty easy after we got all the freight in, and setup was very simple. But next year, I think I personally will hand carry all my stuff because the 2 hours was pretty brutal, and I'm pretty sure I can save on costs and make it in with one trip with just suitcases. On another note, as you will notice, I am in Exhibitor Hall this year. That being said, I will be going over both Artist Alley and Exhibitor Hall in this video, and you'll get to see walkthrough of both so you can compare the booth size, people walking it, and all that jazz. As we're doing a preliminary walk through Exhibitor Hall without attendees, let's go through how I got into Exhibitor Hall in the first place. Fanime was actually relatively hard to get into. I think I've been on their waitlist for 5 years now, just to get a booth in Exhibitor. I've done Artist Alley in the past, but it's almost harder to get into now because of all the competition amongst artists. I'll go over the Artist Alley applications process in more details in a minute. Since you can re-sign up for Exhibit Hall every year, you are at the mercy of people canceling to get off the waitlist. And I believe I was only able to get off because of the COVID years, where a lot of exhibitors either did not want to exhibit their first few Fanimes or actually closed their business during COVID. Who actually knows? But I do think there was an influx of new vendors and open spaces during that time, so I was lucky enough to get a booth. So this is my second year as an exhibitor at Fanime. It's closed. What the hell? All the elevators are closed. I think this one finally works, maybe? Yay! Yay! It's Saturday and we are at the con early to get coffee, and there's a little bit of a line. Well, I can't see either, but there is a line outside starting. But we are gonna check out Artist Alley before that. On the right. And that's where Dealer's Hall is. And Artist Alley is on the other side of the hall over here. Now to go over how to get into Artist Alley for Fanime. I believe applications open at the end of every year, so around December, and they take applications for 36 hours. After that, it is a juried show, and one of the most notorious juried shows, I might add. They have a pretty intense grading rubric where the top 300 scored artists get a table. From what I am aware, they judge you based off the overall quality of your art. In addition, your position on the waitlist also reflects your grade from the rubric. a lot of people do think this is more fair, but the downside is Fanime is notorious for taking a very long time with their grading process, and a lot of artists don't really get notified until pretty late in the year, so almost 1 to 3 months before the actual event. There's the line for Artist Alley on a Saturday. I think it keeps going. This is the line for Exhibitor, but it's not really a line. It's just like a mob. So I was lucky enough to have a friend come by and do a walkthrough video for us. While she's walking through and showing you how many people there are and what it looks like during our busiest hour on a Saturday, let's go through whether or not this event was good, bad, worth it, not worth it, that kind of stuff. I do think this crowd was on the low side for Fanime, and whenever I say that about a crowd, I don't usually mean the amount of people there are necessarily, because that's not really what pays our bills. It's usually the buying power of the people that are there. The number of people does help offset that though, but essentially a lot of vendors, myself included, were seeing for this year that people were more conservative about their money, which makes sense because there's a recession and the basic cost of living, mostly in California, where Fanime is, has gone up. That being said, I do think Fanime can still be considered a good show. In comparison, I made more at Fanime than I did at SakuraCon or Emerald City Comic Con. I think one of the biggest contributing factor is that they did not expand like a lot of cons did this year. They stayed relatively the same size, which I was super thankful for. There was a small increase in freight costs and booth costs, but that's generally expected year by year. For events, I think the real killer is when they start expanding. Exhibitor Hall booth numbers or Artist Alley booth numbers, which Family didn't do this year. Before I tell you whether or not this is a good con for you, let's go and talk about Artist Alley. All Artist Alley and Exhibitor Hall are run by different people. I personally love the people running Exhibitor Hall. They're super organized, they advocate a lot for the happiness and well-being of their exhibitors, which ironically is not the norm for most conventions. They're just so pleasant to work with, and I literally can't say enough good things. The only difficult part is the freight issue, which is partly a California union labor law issue at its core. But the main at-con issue was the aisles behind the Artist Alley tables. Likely because of fire marshal regulations, they were strictly monitoring these aisles to make sure they were made clear of any boxes, luggages, and or clutter. People that did not abide by this rule were written up and given written warnings. I believe you get a total of 3 warnings before you are kicked out. Some people were complaining that these warnings were given out during off hours, which doesn't make as much sense since they should be more checking during business hours when there are actually people at the venue that could be affected by these tripping hazards. But this is all intense hearsay. However, a good number of people were given warnings, so just a word of caution for anybody thinking of attending. They are also really strict about their height limit in Artist Alley. They are one of the events that does come around with a stick measuring everybody's table booth displays. So now that you're aware of the Artist Alley shenanigans, I would say just be extra careful. Definitely, they aren't really severe issues as long as you are aware of them. So I don't think this will necessarily affect whether or not Artist Alley is a good con. They're just stricter than normal. So despite all that, I do think Fanime can be considered a consistent event. It is, in my opinion, relatively worth traveling out for if you get in. And I do think they will get better next year, mostly after, hopefully, the recession is behind us and they relax their COVID regulations a little more. Because this year they were still requiring 3 booster shots and masks. But on the upside, I don't hear or see any plans of them expanding or moving. So yeah, hope that information helps, but if you have any questions, as always, feel free to post it in the comments below. On Sunday, I made sure to film a little bit of the process it takes for us exhibitors to sign up for Exhibit Hall next year. I would consider this a little bit of a downside, mostly if you're working the booth alone. It does take around 1 to 2 hours of waiting for your turn because they want everybody to be able to choose the exact booth spot you want for next year. Then you pay the same day and your spot is locked in for the next year, which we did. Then the rest of the day was pretty quiet and I was able to work on some commissions I took throughout the event. Last day, and we're just packing the car with all our stuff because we have to check out of the Airbnb. Here's the Airbnb. I'm doing the tour on the last day, but it has one room with a bathroom on this side, and then the nice big kitchen with a full fridge. And then there's actually another bedroom. It's practically mirrored, so you both get a lot of privacy. It's a really nice area. And then they do have parking in the front. Monday was a half day and it was relatively slow, but we made it out with some money and I was pretty happy with the results. And packing up was relatively easy and I just walked my stuff straight out the door. I did not wait for freight or anything like that. But thank you so much for coming along with me on this vlog. Hopefully it was interesting, entertaining, or helpful. Remember, if you do like my vlogs, be sure to like, subscribe, or click the alert bell. It really helps the channel out. The next big show I'll be at is Anime Expo, so I'll see you in that vlog. Bye!